The Environment Minister says government will not be held hostage over the tipping fee by waste haulers. The Labour Ministry explores new opportunities for the disabled. And in sports, Cougars in danger of matching the record in basketball futility.
Credible, balanced, committed. This is the CBC Evening News.
Very good evening to you. I'm Lisa Broom with the Wednesday, May 13th edition of the CBC Evening News. In our top story tonight, Prime Minister Fendel Stewart says the relationship between his government and the University of the West Indies is in good shape. Mr. Stewart gave this assurance recently when the new principal of UWI Cave Hill campus, Professor Udine Barreto, paid him a courtesy call at Illawarra Court. He expressed regret that some issues which arose between government and UWI over the past few months were played out in the media, and they both agreed that this was not the way to conduct business. Stressing that his cabinet is committed to the success of the university, he said, quote, "I want to assure you that government is very much on board with the work of the UWI, and wherever possible, we will facilitate the university's work to make your task as easy as possible and assist it in achieving the highest standards in Barbados and the Caribbean," end quote. Acknowledging that Barbados has been going through serious economic challenges, the Prime Minister expressed confidence, however, that the country would overcome the trials. While extending congratulations to Professor Barreto on her richly deserved elevation, Mr. Stewart described her as a hard worker with fertile intelligence and therefore well equipped to discharge her responsibility. Professor Barreto promised to do her best, saying that she saw the job as an excellent opportunity to provide service. Environment Minister Dr. Dennis Lowe is saying tonight that Barbados will not be held hostage by private waste haulers. His strong reaction comes on the heels of a second day of protests by the haulers against government's proposed tipping fee. Dr. Lowe described their action as bullying behavior and had made clear that measures are being put in place to address any fallout linked to their protests.
I've instructed the SSA to make available our skip services to any of the producers out there who may be having some challenges in having their waste collected. I've also instructed the SSA to, by Sunday, to have an ad place for the purchase of additional skip trucks and skips, because this country will not be held hostage by a group of individuals who, on the one side of their mouths, said they will work with the government, and on the other side of their mouths said that they will protest and they disrupt, they want to block traffic, and this bullyish kind of behavior, which is not a message that we must send to our society.
Speaking this morning on Talk Your Talk on Q100.7 FM, the Environment Minister explained that the private waste haulers have no case for their protest, especially after agreeing on the way forward in a meeting with him and other ministry officials.
If we had refused to meet with them, I would say they had a case today. If we had said, look, it is the government's prerogative to introduce a tax measure or a fee measure, and we do not need your consent to do it, they could have an argument about insensitivity and not listening to them. None of those things happened.
A suspect is in custody, assisting lawmen with investigations into a stabbing incident at the Valerie High Rise at Britain's Hill, which has left 2 women injured. That incident occurred around midday on Monday, where a man reportedly attacked the women. CBC understands it occurred on the 5th floor of one of the high-rise housing complex. The females, a mother and a daughter, were rushed to hospital for treatment. CBC also understands that the mother has been released from the QEH, while her daughter is still hospitalized after undergoing surgery. Labour Minister Senator Dr. Esther Bayer says her ministry will be looking at ways to create job opportunities for the disabled. She made the announcement during a closing ceremony of a World of Work program at the Barbados Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Dr. Bayer believes the disabled are at a disadvantage when it comes to finding jobs.
I have been approached by the Council for the Disabled, and I've been asked about the labor issues that affect persons with disabilities, and asked what we can do and what I can do as a minister, with regard to legislation and creating opportunities for persons with disabilities. Because as much as we try to integrate into our society, when you speak to the persons themselves who are involved, they're telling you, no, it's not yet an even playing field. They still need to have those opportunities.
Nurses are being assured the Barbados Nurses Association is pushing for better working conditions for them. The group's president, Blondell Mullen, says there are a number of other issues affecting these professionals that must be addressed. They include appointments, payment of salaries and training. Ms. Mullen would also like the stipend reinstalled for student nurses. She told a Nurses Week seminar at the Hilton Hotel the BNA is developing strategies to allow nurses to take part in the decision-making process.
This requires developing and supporting strategies for the preparation of nurse leaders who are skilled and articulate and able to demonstrate as well as promote the value and cost-effectiveness of nursing to the health services. Nurses must assert their professional involvement in policy formation at all levels. With rising health needs and health care costs, which includes costs associated with provision of nursing services, nurses must take the initiative in defining, examining, and evaluating the health outcomes and costs.
Minister of Health John Boyce says Barbados owes a debt of gratitude to its nurses and lauded their contribution to this sector. He assured the BNA their concerns will be addressed. Mr. Boyce says the future of nursing is bright and urged these men and women to keep abreast of changing trends and developments in health.
Nurses are pivotal in the change to safeguard our country's economic future. The Ministry of Health will support excellence in nursing and increase our power to attract and retrain nurses by creating positive practices. The Ministry of Health will also support environments that support nurses' professional identity through meaningful work, autonomy, control over practice, input into decision-making, and strong leadership skills.
The Barbados Water Authority has been explaining the reason for several outages over the past few days in parts of St. George, St. Thomas, St. John, and St. Philip. Reports from the authority indicate that the problem is directly linked to issues being experienced at Golden Ridge Pumping Station. The BWA has been forced to shut down pumping there daily between 10 at night and 4 in the morning, and that action started since May 5th. This is being done to allow the reservoir to replenish and reach acceptable levels. In addition, there were ruptures to a number of mains in Prout Village, St. Thomas, Pool, St. John, and Tent Bay, St. Joseph between Monday and Tuesday. The authority is apologizing for the inconvenience caused, but is also urging the public to be proactive and store water. Tankers are being dispatched daily, but residents are being told to expect some delays because of the demand. The dynamics of Bridgetown have to change, this suggestion from Housing Minister Dennis Kelman, as he piloted a resolution to vest just over 1,200 square meters of land in the Barbados Tourism Investment Inc. The land, which is formerly the old fish market in Bay Street, will now be used for tourism-related development. Mr. Kelman says this shows that government is keeping pace with the social and economic changes that are taking place in the city, and used the development at Church Village Greens as an example.
We now have to ask ourselves whether we can allow the Central Bank of Barbados to continue to have that whole landscape for itself, or whether we need to get proactive and look at the possibility of bringing housing to that area that suits the landscape of the area. Because I don't think it is fair for us to spend all the money that we have spent in that particular area and not to capitalize on that area by bringing some scale housing to that particular area.
Fire officials had to use the jaws of life to free a woman from an overturned van late this afternoon. The accident occurred near the Rubis Wilde service station. Now, initial reports suggest that the van was involved in an accident with an SUV sometime around 4 o'clock, and the woman became trapped in the vehicle after it went over on its right side. A utility pole was also damaged during the accident, and a crew from the Barbados Light and Power to ensure the safety of pedestrians in the damaged line. Fire Service Station Officer Clarence Hines said 8 officers responded to the scene along with 2 tenders.
When we got here, we recognized that there was a female trap, and we went about using the jaws of life to extricate the female.
One of the employees at the Rubis station, Shaquille Stout, went to render assistance after the accident occurred.
We ran across to help her lift the van off the lady. So we will lift it up, then we just wait till the rest.
Names of the accident were available up to news, nor the extent of their injuries. Coming up, more news in just a moment. First, we want to get your take on this question. Should there be a national discussion on the issue of waste disposal in Barbados? Text yes or no to short code 8111. We'll have the results at the end of the news.
Our life, our restaurant, our family means everything to us. A strong headache, then the pain goes away and our passion comes in.
Panadol Ultra, a combination of ingredients clinically proven to relieve the toughest pains, strong enough to relieve even the pain of migraine. Panadol Ultra, when strong pain is gone, life takes its place.
When you need freedom to express yourself, there's nothing like the home you own. Let Scotiabank open the door for you with advice and payment options that match your budget. Visit us today. Scotiabank. Discover what's possible.
Offer available island-wide at participating outlets, Bico Mobilers and the Bico Direct Outlet, Harbor Road.
Yeah, from your device, now it's IoT. So hear me, man. Watch me in the bounce beer. Watch you know. They must feel like bounce beer song, but bounce beer like the place at the top. Bounce beer block party, top of the chart. Even from your device, now it's IoT representing for bounce beer. I make sure say just listen to bounce beer block party every Thursday 98.1 FM. From 8 to 9 p.m. Wait, body in the on. It a go sick. Cause bounce beer got the show fit. Hey, bounce beer sick. I am tight.
Be prepared for launch. Big things gonna happen. Bomb, bomb, bomb.
Father, thank you for all your blessings. Your love has covered me through the year. I am so addicted. Wine all night, straight through till morning light, enjoying soca vibes. I am so addicted.
This was my best performance of 4 feet season.
Launch! A new and exciting TV show that gives artists the opportunity to let their music be heard. Simply go to BajanTings.com, yes, Bajan Tings, and register to be a part of the show. Premiering May 14, 2015.
Charities across the island get a much-needed boost as the Canadian Women's Club of Barbados continues to show its support. 17 charitable organizations across the island today got the reassurance that their work is appreciated. This comes as the Canadian Women's Club of Barbados conducted their disbursement of funds ceremony. Taking place at the Canadian High Commission, recipients include the Burn Scar Garment and Orthotics Fund, the Diabetes Association of Barbados, and the YWCA Breakfast Club. Canadian High Commissioner to Barbados and the Eastern Caribbean, Richard Hanley, lauded the Women's Club for their work over the years.
There are many worthy causes receiving contributions today, and these charities and the people who run them have demonstrated a remarkable spirit of service to the people of Barbados. And again, I congratulate them for it.
Indirect beneficiaries of the club's contributions include young Tiana, who received much-needed skin grafting from the Burn Scar Garment Factory. Dr. Clyde Cave of the Pediatrics Department of the Queen Elizabeth Hospital says the club's continued contributions support the long-term development of the island's children. He said a need, he says, is overlooked.
One example is the playroom, which you have determined as important and worthy of supporting, and we certainly think so as well. But when you are missing other things, it's hard to convince some people that the education and joy and play of a child is also a critical element. And we're very happy that the Canadian Women's Club has recognized this and, more than that, put some money behind their support.
Efforts are on to increase the production of root crops like sweet potato and cassava in Barbados and the region. This comes as the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations formally launched its partnership with Cuba at a seminar on sweet potato development in the Caribbean at UN House in Christchurch. Brian Broom reports.
The partnership is expected to help reduce food import bills and create healthier populations, battles which several Caribbean countries and Barbados have faced for years. It is hoped that it will allow sweet potato and cassava crops and their byproducts to be more widely used. Cuba's ambassador to Barbados says the project is a demonstration of the Cuban government's desire to help Caribbean countries.
We have collaborated recently with the OECS countries in the matter of black Sikatoka, and we are open to hear some proposal also. I wish that this exchange could be useful for the region.
FAO coordinator Dr. Deep Ford maintains that byproducts such as flour can replace a significant portion of the imported wheat-based staple, replacing this ingredient in items such as bread. And he revealed that bakeries, along with other sectors, will be targeted more aggressively.
We are working closely with them to try to see if we can have 5 bakeries in every country working with us, utilizing cassava flour or grated cassava as an ingredient into bread. That will be, very importantly, the start of a major change.
Dr. Ford also shared his vision for the cassava and sweet potato industries.
That industry vision represents hundreds of acres with many farmers producing cassava, and I'm going to say sweet potato, and their pickup trucks or their trucks loading that cassava in, taking it to a factory where there's a factory that is producing cassava flour and cassava chips and sweet potato, French fries, and it's coming out at the other end in a different vehicle, and it's going to school feeding programs.
Meantime, Acting Chief Agricultural Officer Ralph Farnham explained both crops are alternatives to imported goods and believes Barbados needs to explore continuous processing of these crops.
We're moving toward from just production for consumption, just fresh consumption. We want to move into the area of processing, agro-processing, also moving to get our production levels to such levels that we can stimulate, we have a constant flow into agro-industry.
Ryan Broom, CBC News.
Efforts continue to raise funds for the $1 million restoration of the St. Michaels Cathedral in the city, and yesterday, Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, Senator McLean, appealed to the local Anglican community to contribute and pool their resources to help rehabilitate the historic church.
I ask our congregations, first of all, to use the rest of the year to utilize that relationship of 1,000,000. And I challenge every church for the next quarter to raise so that we can have each quarter $1,000 raised. And I am sure that if we go into churches, we can find persons who individually can contribute that, or collectively as families, or groups of friends who went to Sunday school together, who would have been confirmed together, who belong to a former AYPA together, to raise those funds.
Senator McLean made the appeal during the launch of the book, His Churches of Senator Professor Sir Henry Frere. He says some of the proceeds of the book will also help the cause. Sir Henry is urging all Barbadians to assist in the preservation of Barbados's historic churches and places of worship.
everyone in Barbados should take part in the preservation of our churches and our places of worship. And you know, when I travel and I speak on heritage, as I do from time to time, I always let people know that while Barbados is, first of all, a UNESCO World Heritage Site of historic Bridgetown and its garrison, that it also has an absolute richness of other historical sites, including 75 churches. And I let them know that our cathedral is exceedingly special because people travel the world to see churches, especially famous cathedrals.
Still to come, a look at some of the stories making headlines across the region. But first, to